Welcome back to the webinar series here at BINA. Tonight begins a Jewish festival, not so well known. It's called Chamisha Asar B'Av, the 15th of the month of Av. What's interesting is that the Mishnah in the tractate of Tainis says that the Jewish people did not have such a great festival like the festival of the 15th of Av and Yom Kippur, Yom HaKippurim. Now, it's not such a well-known festival, and in fact the Gemara, the Talmud, goes and asks what happened on this day that it's such a great festival like the holiday of Yom Kippur. And the Gemara goes on to bring 6 reasons why the 15th of Av is a tremendously happy day. What I would like to do today is to go through those 6 reasons and to examine, at least by some of them, as much as we can do, what is the connection between the 15th of Av and Yom Kippur. If the Mishnah puts both of them together, that the greatest festivals that the Jewish people have is Yom Kippur and Tes Vav B'Av, Chamisha Asar B'Av, the 15th of Av, then there must be some sort of a connection between those 2 days. Otherwise, why are they put in the same sentence? So the most famous reason and the first reason that the Talmud brings for the reason for the festivities on the 15th of Av is connected to the fact that the Jewish people in the desert stopped dying. Of course, everybody knows the famous story of the spies. The spies came back with a bad report, and the Jewish people believed them and cried that they did not want to go into the land of Israel because it's impossible for them to conquer it. God punished them and said, you'll be in the desert for the next 40 years. All the men between the ages of 20 and 60 will pass away during that time, and only the younger generation will go into the land of Israel. This actually happened on Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, which we commemorated this past Sunday, which is the day of the destruction of the temple in a much later generation. Well, what happened was during those 40 years, every 9th of Av, that night, they would dig themselves a grave, they would go to sleep, some of them would wake up alive, some of them would not wake up. And this would go on for 40 years until basically that entire generation had passed away. On the last year, they dug their graves and everybody got up on the 9th of Av. They thought maybe they made a mistake in the calendar. They did it again the next night and the next night till the 15th of Av, when on the 15th day of the month, the moon is full. Like we'll discuss the significance of that a little bit later. They realized that they did not make a mistake, the decree is over, and from now on, everybody will live. So it was a day of great celebration. The connection between this and Yom Kippur is that Yom Kippur is a day of atonement. For what? For the golden calf. Moshe Rabbeinu went up on the mountain to get the set of luchos, the tablets, came back down, saw the Jews serving the golden calf. That happened on the 17th of Tammuz. He went back up, asked God for forgiveness for 40 days and for 40 nights, came back down, and then went up again on the first day of Elul and came back down on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, with a brand new set of luchos, showing the Jewish people that God had forgiven them for the sin of the golden calf, which is now the obvious connection between the 15th of Av and Yom Kippur. 15th of Av, God showed the Jewish people that He had forgiven them for the sin of the spies. Yom Kippur, God showed the Jewish people that He had forgiven them for the sin of the golden calf. The second and third reason of the celebrations of the 15th of Av are both connected to the idea of marriage. Just very briefly, originally the tribes were forbidden to intermarry within one another. The reason for that being, since the tribes each had a portion in the land of Israel, the land of Israel was divided up into areas for each tribe to have their area. If they would intermarry within each other, that would cause land to switch from one tribe to another, and that would basically mix up the whole settlement of the land of Israel, and therefore they were forbidden to marry into one another. However, on the 15th of Av, at one stage, they decided to abolish this rule, and the Jewish people were allowed to marry from one tribe to another. More specifically, there was an incident regarding the tribe of Binyamin, the tribe of Benjamin, where there was a whole story. Now's not the time to get into it, we don't have enough time for that, where there was a whole story how a certain group from the tribe of Binyamin abused a certain woman, and the entire Jewish nation was furious about it, and they attacked the tribe of Binyamin, and basically almost killed it out, leaving 600 men left. Before they did this, they took on an oath that they will not allow their daughters to marry into the tribe of Binyamin, being that they decided that they're very wicked. Seeing that there was only 600 men left, and it was a danger that this tribe was going to become extinct, it will totally disappear, and the Jewish people need 12 tribes, there's a whole explanation at length how they did this. They got out of their oath somehow, and they allowed their daughters to marry into the tribe of Binyamin, thereby saving the tribe. This date, connected to these two incidents of increasing marriage, became a date throughout many generations, where the girls used to go out into the outskirts of Yerushalayim. This is what the Mishnah describes, and they used to dance. And the boys used to come out and find for themselves a wife, and there's a whole process and a whole ceremony how this happened, and it became a very opportune day for the idea of marriage. The connection to these two reasons at Yom Kippur is the culmination of the giving of the Torah. Because when God gave the Torah on Mount Sinai, He gave us the 10 Commandments with the 2 luchos. But we didn't get the 2 luchos, because as I mentioned before, they were broken. We only got them on Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the culmination of the giving of the Torah. The giving of the Torah is compared to a marriage between the Jewish people and God. We are the bride, God is the groom, and He married us, He betrothed us on Mount Sinai. There's the connection between the 15th of Av, connecting to marriage, to Yom Kippur being the culmination of the marriage between God and the Jewish people. The third reason is connected to a dark side of our history. After King Solomon passed away, the kingdom of Israel split up into two. There was the kingdom of Judah, of Yehuda, and the kingdom of Israel. That's what it was called. The Beis Hamikdash, the temple, was in the territory of the kingdom of Yehuda. The wicked king of the Yisrael, of Israel, his name was Yeravam, and he did not want the 10 tribes which were under his rulership to visit the temple that would undermine his kingdom. So he made blockages on the roads that the Jewish people of the 10 tribes who were under his rulership would not be able to visit the temple. Generations later, there was another king who wasn't actually so righteous, but it says he was more righteous than this wicked king whose name was Yeravam. He took away those blockages and allowed the Jewish people to once again visit the temple. Here we have more of a spiritual connection to the holy day of Yom Kippur. Because we know it says in the verse that make for me a temple and I will dwell in them, which means there isn't only one temple. The temple exists within every single Jew, and that is their soul. The soul is the temple within me. The soul is the place where God dwells within me. And throughout the year, we may do things wrong, and we may cause blockages that we're not able to access our soul properly. Our soul can't be expressed the way it's supposed to. One day a year on Yom Kippur, we have the possibility to ask God for forgiveness, to repent, and to take down all those blockades, all those things which are stopping our soul from expressing ourselves, all those things that are stopping us from accessing our soul, and to knock that down and once again reveal in full glory our connection to God. See, we have the connection to the 15th of Av, the removal of the blockades stopping the Jewish people going to the temple, to Yom Kippur, where we remove all blockages from our soul, allowing it to express itself. I'll just mention briefly the 5th and the 6th reason. I'll let you figure out the connection between that and Yom Kippur. At the beginning of the time of the second temple, Israel was desolate. There wasn't enough trees, and they couldn't find wood to bring to the temple. A few brave people would travel afar every single year to get wood. When this journey involved immense and incredible danger. However, they had to get all the wood before the 15th of Av, because in that side of the world, after the 15th of Av, it gets colder and damper, and therefore there would be worms in the wood, thereby rendering it to be forbidden to bring upon the altar in the temple. Therefore, every 15th of Av, that was the time when they had all the wood for the year, and they celebrated that they were able to get enough wood for the Mizbeach, for the altar in the Beis Hamikdash. And the 6th reason, after the terrible tragedy of Beitar, the massacre that the Romans killed an entire city of Beitar, they refused to give the bodies back to the Jewish people to bury them. Only much later, on the 15th of Av, they gave back the bodies. That was one miracle. And the second miracle was that the bodies were still intact. They did not decay at all. Perhaps now let's give a general concept, a general context to this special day, connecting it to Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur represents coming back after we have failed. Throughout the year, we may do things wrong, we may rebel against God. Yom Kippur is the time when we bounce back full force. However, we don't just bounce back to the same level where we were before we failed, before we sinned. The power of repentance is that even after you've gone down, you can come back to a higher level, even higher than where you started off. Our sages teach us, at the level where people who have repented are, even the most righteous people don't come there. Because the level of someone who has repented, who has done shuvah, is incredibly high. The same thing is about the 15th of Av. The 15th of Av is the first happy day after the lowest and saddest day in the Jewish calendar. We are just coming from Tisha B'Av, the day which commemorates the destruction of the temple, the saddest, most lowest time of the Jewish people. This is the first festival. This is where we jump back. We take back our identity and we soar high, even higher there when we were before the temple was destroyed. And this is very much connected to the date upon which this festival is. It's the 15th. As I mentioned before, the 15th of the month is when the moon is full. The moon being full, the Jewish people are compared to the moon. The journey of the moon is that every month it goes down, it decreases in size, what we see of it, and on the first day of the month is a rebirth. Finally, on the 15th day of the month, the moon shines in its full glory, representing the fact that after the moon has gone down, after the light has diminished, we then come back to the 15th of the month, and the light is in full force all the way back. Let's take us a step further. It's not only notwithstanding the exile, we will come back in the days of Mashiach full force with a new and better and greater Beis HaMikdash, but it's actually precisely because we went down, because we had this descent into exile, that itself is the cause that we then go higher. The very fact that we were in exile for so long was an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to reach new heights. However, now that's not felt. When Mashiach will come, when the 15th of the month, meaning when the moon is full, when the Jewish people will once again be restored to their full glory, we will then realize retroactively the whole journey which we've been through, how the entire exile has contributed to this amazing height that we have reached. And we can connect that also back to the first reason that we gave for the 15th of the month of Av. The Jewish people in the desert, when did they stop dying? They didn't stop dying on the 15th of Av. They stopped dying on the 9th of Av. That was when they were supposed to pass away, and they didn't. It's just that they didn't recognize that they stopped passing away until the 15th of Av. And the same thing applies regarding the exile and Mashiach. The truth is that all the good that we've achieved already exists now, throughout the exile, as we do one mitzvah and another mitzvah, notwithstanding all the hardship that we're going through. We generate a tremendous light, a tremendous godly energy in the world, a tremendous holiness, a tremendous kedusha. However, we don't see it. The 15th of Av represents when the moon will be full and Mashiach will come. It will reveal retroactively all the good which we have already accomplished. All the holiness, all the tremendous revelation of godliness that we have already brought into the world throughout the entire exile, that will be revealed when Mashiach will come. May that take place speedily in your day.